Welcome back everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today is going to be the first part in a tutorial series. It's an FPS tutorial series. I did put a poll up on my YouTube channel and you guys got to pick from a list of different types of tutorials that we could do, and you chose a first person shooter. So we've done two of these series before, but this one is going to be a lot different than the other two. We're actually going to be using arms in this first person shooter tutorial. So we're actually going to use a program called MakeHuman to get the model for our arms, and then we're going to be using Blender to actually animate those arms before we take them into Unity and use them for our game. So there's going to be a few things you need to do first to get started with this tutorial. First of all, you'll need to go to this site here, which is the MakeHuman community.org, and I'll put a link for all of these things in the description of the video. So I downloaded this one here, the 1.2.0 beta 2, and you can just click on this link. You can download this file. It will be a zip file, I believe. Just unzip it and then install MakeHuman on your computer. After you've done that, go to this site here, which there'll also be a link to, and you'll need to scroll down the bottom of this page and actually download this zip file here, and it's the MHX2 file, and you don't need to unzip this one, okay? Just download this and put it somewhere on your computer where you can find it easily, because we're going to need to access this file through Blender, okay? This is actually an add-on or a plugin for Blender that we're going to need to actually use the MakeHuman model in Blender, okay? So go ahead, download them two things. If you haven't got Blender, go to blender.org and download Blender. Install that on your computer and then you will be ready to go. So once you've done all that, you should have MakeHuman on your computer. Open up MakeHuman. If you don't know what MakeHuman is, it's actually a free software where you can make 3D models and things like that very easily. You're allowed to use these in your games for commercial use, which is really cool. And as I said, this program is completely free. So once you're in MakeHuman, you'll have this model here. You can just scroll in and out with your mouse wheel. You can left click to sort of look around, and then up here you can change the different view of your model. So front, on, back, sides, top, bottom, and then this one here will actually just put it back to the default view. Alright, so I'm not going to get too crazy into all this because the tutorial will take ages, okay? So we're just going to use the things that we need to use, and all we're going to use this model for is to actually get the arms. Alright, so what we're going to do, you can use these sliders up here to change the model how you want, and as I said, we're only concentrating on the arms, so it doesn't matter what the rest of the model looks like. So you can change the gender if you want more feminine arms, you can go back that way. More male, masculine arms can go that way. I'm going to put mine on full male. You can change the age, you can make it really muscly if you want a cliche first person shooter, muscly arms. You can change the weight to make him, you know, really bulky like that if you want. I'm just gonna have mine kind of in between. They're a tiny bit skinny, so I might just give a little bit more definition like that. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, just like that. So they're kind of toned. They're not crazy muscly though, okay? So got that done. You can mess around with the other settings, but as I said, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can change the skin tone a bit if you want. I'll keep mine somewhere like that. And yeah, that's basically all I'm going to do to mine. I'm not going to stuff around for too much because we've got a lot to do in this first tutorial. So once you've done that, you can go up here, you'll see you've got some headings up here, and there's one called pose /animation. If we click on that, we can actually rig our character in MakeHuman automatically. Okay, so this is going to save us a lot of work, and especially for someone that's new to using Blender and rigging and animating and things like that, this is pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm going to click on default. You can choose all your rigs over here. You do have a game engine rig, so you click on that and you can see that it already added the bones. Okay, and we're going to just be using the arms. So you can see here that for a game engine one, you could probably get away with using this. Like, there are enough bones there to have decent animations, but if you go to default, you can actually see that you get more bones, so you get more detailed hands. So I think for us, we will use this one. Okay, so I'm going to use the default rig. Just going to click on that to get back to that view. And now what you want to do is actually save this file. So I'm going to go, first of all, I'll go back to rendering, and we can go to this little button up here, the little floppy disk icon to save. So you click on that and make sure you save this where you can actually find it as well, because we're going to need the texture file that this creates, okay, later on when we go to Unity. So I'll click on here, and I think I made my desktop. I made this folder on my desktop, and I've got two folders inside it. One's called Blender Models and one's called MakeHuman Models. So I'm going to select the MakeHuman one, and I'm going to call this MakeHuman Male Model. Okay, and I'm just going to save that. As I said, make sure you remember where you save that so you can get it. Once you've saved the file, now we need to actually go ahead and export the file. Okay, so then we click on export here, and we're going to export it as a MakeHuman Exchange MHX2. So make sure you have this one selected, and then you can choose where you want to save it. I'm going to save it in my MakeHuman folder as well, and I'm going to call this MakeHuman Male Rigged. I'm going to save that. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do in this program for now. You can have a play around in here if you want. It's really awesome program, but I'm not going to spend all day showing you guys all the different features. Okay, so I'm just going to get out of this now. I'm going to open up Blender if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so this is Blender. If you haven't used it before, it's a free program you can use to make games, 3D models, animations. I mean, there is just so much you can do in this program. It's pretty crazy. It is quite a complicated program to wrap your head around at the start. I don't use Blender very often anymore, so I'm a little bit rusty myself, but I'll do my best to keep it simple. I'm not going to go through all the different things, like we would be here for months if I was showing you all the different things that Blender could do, but I'm going to try to keep it specific to what we're actually going to be doing. Okay, so as you can see, you start off with a 3D model already in the scene. It's just a cube here. It's similar to Unity. You start off in object mode, so you can actually use like the move tool, the same as Unity, so you can move things around. You have a rotate, you have a scale, transform. So basically similar to Unity in that way. You will notice though that the axes are a little bit different. In Blender, the vertical axis is actually the Z, whereas in Unity, Z is the forward axis, and in Blender, the forward axis is Y. So keep that in mind. That can be a little bit confusing to start off with, but you will get used to it. I'm just going to put on screencast keys because you'll be able to see what buttons I'm actually pressing. Show last operator. For some reason they're not working. Okay, put that back on. Okay, there we go, we've got them now. So when you're in this mode as well, you can actually just press N to bring up this menu here, and this is quite similar to Unity as well. You can actually see the transform and the location rotation of a 3D object. Okay, so if you're looking for that kind of stuff, that's where it is. You just press N to bring up this menu here and have items selected there. Alright, so without getting too crazy and getting carried away explaining all these things, I'm just going to left click on this cube and I'm going to press X to delete it out of our scene because we don't need that. All that's in our scene at the moment, if you look up here, this is basically like the hierarchy in Unity. We have a camera and we have a light, okay? So that's our light and that's our camera. And to navigate around in Blender, after you've been in Unity, it can feel a bit strange as well. You can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. If you press your scroll wheel in and then move your mouse, you can actually look around like this. And also you can hold down Shift and hold the mouse scroll wheel in, and you can actually pan around, okay? So yeah, that's all we're basically going to need for what we're doing. So what we're going to do is actually go up to edit first, because what we need to do, enable for us to be able to bring the MakeHuman model that we exported from MakeHuman, we need to have an add-on for Blender. And you used to be able to just go into Blender and choose the add-on. Like if you go to edit here and then you go to preferences, you used to be able to just type in MakeHuman and you could bring it up and you would automatically be able to use MakeHuman models in Blender. But that's not the case anymore. So that's why you need to actually go to the plugins like I showed you and download this zip file here. And as I said, you don't need to unzip it when you download it, just save it somewhere where you can find it easily, okay? So once you've done that, you can actually go into Blender. As I said, go to Edit, Preferences, go to Install, and then find that zip file, okay? And then once you've got that zip file, you install it, and then you will be able to actually search on here. It should just come up automatically when you install it, and you should have this one here. Say MakeHuman import runtime MakeHuman exchange to MHX2. Okay, this is extremely important. You need to make sure that you have this, okay? Otherwise it's not going to work like it does for me. Alright, so go ahead, install that add-on, and then you should be ready to go. Once that's done, we can go to File and we can go to Import, and now you'll have this option here. If you don't have that add-on, you won't have this option, okay? So it's a .mhx2 file, and then we select import that one. And then I'm going to go to my desktop, and you'll notice that it's in reverse alphabetical order when you use Blender. So A starts down the bottom, so I'll go to FPS tutorial, MakeHuman models, and there's my second one that I saved, because I saved my MakeHuman model, but then I exported the MakeHuman male rigged, which is the MHX2 file, okay? So make sure you open that one, and then we will have our model in Blender, which is pretty cool, and it's fully rigged and ready to animate. That's awesome. So that just saved us a lot of time, and for new people, it's not easy to be able to just get something and rig it and do all that kind of stuff yourself. It's quite complicated. They do have Rigify and things that make it a bit easier in Blender, but this, I mean, what could be easier than that? You've already got it done for you. So now we've got excuse me, we've got our model in our scene. You'll see that it's actually in our hierarchy up here. I'll just call it the hierarchy just so that the Unity viewers can understand a bit better. So if we open up the parent, the male model rigged, you'll see that we actually have one here called MakeHuman male high poly, okay? We don't want that, okay? That's got the eyes and things like that in it, so you can just left click on that, then right click and delete it, okay? So that's gone. He has no eyes anymore because we don't need them. As I said, all we're going to be using is the arms. So now we've got that, you can actually see up here that it automatically put us in pose mode, because pose mode is what you actually use to basically modify bones and to do animations and things like that. We don't want pose mode, we actually want object mode. And then if I actually left click on the actual anywhere on the skin of the character or the mesh of our 3D model, you'll notice now that it's got this orange line going all around the actual body of the male, and that's what you want. And then once you're selected on that, you press tab, or you can just go up here and go to edit mode. But if you press tab, it'll automatically go to edit mode, and then you'll see that you can see all the mesh divided up like so. Okay, so once you're at this stage, we can actually go ahead and start trying to get rid of all the stuff that we don't need. So what you can do is, if you come up here on the left hand side on the top, we've got vertex select, we've got edge select, and we've got face select. If we click on face select and then we hold down Alt on our keyboard, and if we left click under his armpit here, you'll see that it automatically highlights these areas like this. And if you look around, it's gone all the way around his arms, on all the faces that go around his arms. So just make sure that you click in the same spot I did, which was right there. You'll know that you've done it right because yours will look the same as this. And once you've done that, you can press delete, and then you press faces. So we've deleted all of those faces, and as you can see now, it's actually cut away the arms from the body like so. And now we can just start working on getting rid of the rest. Okay, so what you can do, if you come up here on the top right, you'll have this button up here. It's called toggle X-ray. If you left click on that, you'll notice that now we can see straight through the meshes. So if I select a mesh at the front, it's also going to select the mesh at the back. Okay, so you can press C on your keyboard and you'll have the circle select tool. You can scroll in and out to make it smaller or larger, and then if you hold down your left mouse button, you can just simply go like that and highlight. If you right click out of the circle select and we have a look around the back, you'll see that everything on the back is also selected, and then we can press delete faces, and as you'll see, we just got rid of all of that mesh and it's just left the bones there. Okay, so you can do this. You just got to be really careful, because you can actually select things you don't want to delete by accident, because it will actually select, you know, if I'm facing this way and I circle select and click like that, you'll see that I actually selected all of this, and I'll delete all that. So you've just got to be a bit careful when you're using the X-ray mode. You can also press B on your keyboard, and then if you hold down left mouse, you can just box select. Okay, like this. Delete that. Delete the faces. Make sure I haven't deleted anything I want to keep. And then on the head, we can just box select. Press B on the keyboard, hold down left mouse, select his head, delete the faces. Okay, we got rid of that. So now all we need to do is get rid of this shoulder here. So press C. I'll just make that a bit smaller, being careful not to select anything that I don't want. Right click out of that, D, faces, and as you can see, now we've got one arm here. Okay, it's got a little bit of jagged around. That doesn't matter. I mean, you're not going to see any of that in the game. Okay, you're only going to see from probably like there down at the most, so you don't have to worry about that. Then if I come over to this one, get a nice view there, and I'll press C and I'll select all that, right click out of it, then press delete the faces, and then we've got this little tiny bit here. I'll just actually now get out of X-ray mode, so left click on that up there, and then we're back to the normal mode, and I'll just make that smaller. I'll click on that, right click out of it, delete faces. Alright, now as you can see, we have our arms and we don't have any other mesh, but now we still have the bones. So what you can do, if you press tab to go back to object mode and then left click on any of the bones, you'll see that now it's highlighted all the bones. I can click on the mesh to highlight the mesh, I can left click on the bones to highlight the bones. We want to highlight the bones, and then we press tab, and now we can actually delete these bones. So we can go B for box select, just select that one there. Press delete, and you want to choose bones, okay? So delete bones, and then I'm just going to left click on this one bone here in between his shoulder blades, and I'll delete that one. And then all we're left with is these ones here. So what I'm going to do is, I might just put it back on X-ray for a second. I'll go to the circle tool, and I'll just run my circle tool over all of those bones, left click out of it, press delete, and bones. I'll get back out of X-ray mode, and there we have it. There is our arms rigged and ready to go. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So what I'm going to do before we end this tutorial, because in this tutorial I just want to get everything set up. It's a lot to take in if you haven't used these programs before, so I don't want to get too crazy. What I'm going to do is just get behind him and try to line up like this a little bit. I might just get up a little bit higher and just try to straighten my view up a little bit so I'm looking straight ahead. It doesn't really matter, we can adjust this in a minute, but once I've got this view, then I'm going to hold down Control Alt, and I'm going to press 0 on the numpad. And what this does is it actually moves the camera to our view, just like in Unity when you want to align the camera with your current view. So now you can see exactly what the camera is looking at. And I'm just doing this because basically I want to be able to have some kind of idea of how the hands are going to look through the camera in Unity and how to position certain things, okay? So you can just left click on your just press your mouse scroll wheel, sorry, and you'll automatically come out of that view, just like that. If you start doing anything else, you press 0 to look through your camera, and then I can just start moving around and it'll automatically just get out of it for me, okay? So that's all well and good. What I'm going to actually do though is I'm going to press tab to go to object mode. I'm going to left click on the camera, just going to drag that forward. Basically I just want this to be like his eyes where he's actually looking. I'll just bring it down in between his shoulder blades like so, just like that. Okay, so then if I press 0 on my numpad, you can see where I'm looking through on the actual camera. Alright, so basically that's all we're going to do today. I know it's probably a lot to take in. If you find all of this too complicated, you can actually support me on Patreon. It's only $3 a month, and you can actually download the project files for all of these tutorials that are going to be in this series, and there's going to be a lot. So I think that's a pretty reasonable price, and then you can save yourself all this trouble. But I do recommend, even if you download the project files, you need to follow along with the tutorials, because there's no point having a heap of scripts and models and things like that if you don't understand how to use them. If you don't understand how to use them, you won't be able to modify them and make them your own, okay? So just keep that in mind. Make sure you watch all the tutorials closely before commenting that something's broken or something doesn't work, you know, or I've done something wrong. Just make sure that you follow the tutorial closely. I will make mistakes, I will have bugs and things like that that we can go back and fix. That's just game development. I mean, you'll never make a game without bugs. If you've tried to make one, you'll understand that there's always a lot of bug fixing to do, no matter what you're making, okay? So, yep, $3 on Patreon, you can download the entire project files. For $1 a month, you can download the scripts. Yeah. And that's all, guys. I hope you really enjoy this tutorial series. It's going to be a lot of hard work for me going into it. So, yeah, I hope you guys appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Cheers.